Welcome to Higher Fire. This is your 10-minute basic recap of how to make a pot on a wheel. Good review for beginning throwing class and folks who are trying to refresh their memory about what you were taught on the first night. So here we go. First thing is to make sure that your stool is positioned as close as possible to the wheel so that your body can be as close as possible to the wheel. You want to move in and make sure that your knees are straddling the splash pans and that you're as close in as you can be so that you have maximum leverage to center the clay. So let's get started. First thing you'll do is use a bat gripper. So these are the rubber chamois that we provide, and they fit nicely over the bat pins. Make sure this is nice and flat. It keeps your bat, the wooden disc that we use for making pots on, from sliding around while you're centering. So we put the bat on. The next thing that you're going to check is that your bat is flat. You check it by putting your fingers on the edges here. If it rocks at all, you're going to want to pick it up and flip it over. You don't want the bat to rock around. So this one is nice and flat, it's steady. I'm going to put a teeny tiny dot of water in the center. That's all you need, a tiny bit of water just to help the clay stick. You take your ball of clay, round side down, position it right over the center of the wheel, and then with a big whomp, lift your hand straight up, right on the center. We then do a little bit of patty caking to make sure the clay is stuck. You don't want to lower the height of the clay, but you want to make sure that it is stuck to the bat. And after I'm done with my patty caking, the clay should look a little bit like a giant Hershey's Kiss, okay? So it has point to it, and we are now ready to start centering. The first part of centering I usually do at low to medium speed until the clay is mostly on center. Let's review where your elbows go and where your hands are going to go. I always point my left knee up. In fact, I'll point my toe on the floor and use the edge of the stool to keep my knee a little bit higher. And I'm going to plant my left elbow in the middle of my left thigh so that I have lots of leverage. If your elbow is up on top, it's going to slide around. You're not going to have as much leverage on the clay, and it makes it very hard to center. So we'll get your hands wet. Plant the left elbow, tuck it in where it's not going to move. And your first motion is going to be to press in on the clay and wrap your fingers around. And I am sealing the deal. I'm making a little groove here at the bottom so that the clay does not move around on me. And I can start to press in on it and lean on the clay, squeeze my fingers so it starts to rise up. That is the first move so that you seal the deal down here and can start speeding up the wheel and finish the centering. Get more water as you need it. You'll be getting into a rhythm with centering of getting water first, pushing with your left hand, watching the clay rise up. You can see I'm squeezing the clay, and then tamping down with your right hand and trying to get your hands as steady as possible, locked together. When I'm centering, I'm making a right angle with my left and right forearm. Squeeze in and squeeze down. And your right hand is basically doing a cupped motion over the top of the clay to do the centering. It's forcing the clay downward into your left hand. And I finish up my centering at maximum speed. Let's review the hand position. You get your hands wet. Your rhythm is pushing in with the left, squeezing the clay upward, and then tamping down with the right. Getting your hands oops, I pressed so hard I actually moved the clay off the bat. I'm going to anchor it again, and then continue. And then sneaking away. So let's review. Your rhythm will be left hand pressing in, making the clay rise up, right hand tamping down, stabilizing your hands so that they are not moving, and then slowly relaxing your muscles and sneaking away. Okay. Next step, we're going to open the clay. I'm going to do that by slowing down to medium speed and finding the center of the clay. It's right there. I'm going to put two fingers together, and what we're after is drilling a hole down into the clay. That's the first step of opening, and leaving about a ½ inch of clay on the bottom after we drill the hole. So at medium speed, use my left hand just for bracing. It's no longer pushing. Right hand finds the center, and one fingertip on center, and then I slowly head my fingertips down and in. It's going to get a little dry in there, so every couple of seconds you might need to get a dot or two of water and then continue down. What will keep this opening on center is that as you head down and in, this part of your finger is leaning on the interior wall, and what you'll see is that it's going to be just a fingertip of diameter at the bottom, but the hole will continue to widen on top as you head down and in. So here we go. And now I'm at about ½ inch of clay on the bottom. It's sort of a cone-shaped opening. So that is step one of opening, drilling the hole. Step two, we're going to widen it out just along the bottom. We do that by doing 2 over 2. Plant your forearms on your thighs. Put your fingertips down into the center. And 2 over 2 is for strength. I'm going to pull the clay open toward my belly button, basically widening along the bottom. Every couple of seconds you might need to get a little water so that your fingers still slide. And how far should you widen this out? You want it to be about the width of your hand, so maybe 3 to 4 fingers wide is a basic cylinder kind of opening. All right, finishing up our opening, the third step, so we've drilled a hole, we've done the widening. The next step is compressing the bottom, which is really important. So you can collect up all the moisture that's in there, you can flatten the bottom a little bit, and it prevents cracks. The way that you compress the bottom is to press firmly from the center out toward 3 o'clock, and then you run your fingertips back with the sponge to center, and you do that a few times, center to 3 o'clock. Very important step, make sure the bottom is nice and clean, flat, and you make sure that your corner on the inside corner is rock solid and steady, okay? All right, let's get to pulling. So pulling is the trickiest of all the steps. We have to moisten the clay on both sides. We slow down the wheel even a little bit further. And what you're gonna do for pulling is align 2 fingers on either side of the pot. 2 on the inside are just gonna glide. 2 on the outside are gonna press using the sponge. The tricky part is from all the previous steps, you're pressing really hard. When you're centering, you're pressing hard. When you're drilling a hole, you're pressing pretty hard, opening. And now you have to ease back a lot. Press less, and if you need to increase your pressure, fine, but you want to press a little bit, a lot lighter for the next step. Okay, we're moistened on the sides. Our basic motion after we align on the inside and outside is for 2 fingers to glide here, sponge on the bottom. We're going to squeeze in with the sponge a little bit, and then slowly move the sponge up the side. For the first pull, I don't even move my inside hand. I just use the side of my index finger as a backstop. And I slowly come up. When I get to the top, I sneak away. Very, very slow motion. For the second pull, it's going to be much the same. Come back down to the very bottom of the pot. This time, my inside hand is going to press a little bit harder to provide a little more resistance. I'll squeeze at the bottom, 1 millimeter in, and then I slowly move them up together now, up the side of the pot. And you can see I'm using my left thumb, sort of just touching my right thumb as a way of keeping my fingers together. Okay, do you see that? Let's go in for one more pull. Moisten the inside, moisten the outside. Always add a little moisture, but don't douse the pot. And then start again. Squeeze a little, hold steady, and then slowly come up. It's like a slow count of 10 up the side of the pot. And it's less and less pressure as you get to the top until you just sneak away. Good form at the end of every pull is to do a little bit of compression. So you could have done that on the previous 2 pulls, would have been good. Make an H, so you hold on to the rim with your thumb and index finger, and then tamp down with your right hand index finger. Clean it all up. If you want to make this taller, you can do something like collaring. I'll show you that really quick. You get the sides of the pot kind of wet, increase your speed, and squeeze in a little bit. Use collaring to go taller, and that can allow you to do an extra pull or get a little bit more clay up from the bottom. I'll do one more pull on this one. So reviewing, 2 fingers on the inside, sponge on the outside, squeeze in at the bottom just a millimeter, and then start coming up. Match pressure now with the 3rd, 4th, 5th pull, inside and outside, and we come up nice and slow. And I am touching my left thumb to my right thumb as a way of keeping everything aligned. And at the end, we do a little compression, and that is making a basic cylinder. So what's the finish to this? Well, in other videos we will talk about shaping, but for this one, let's show you how to wire off the pot. First thing you do is clean your bat. Wipe it nice and clean, side and top. Get your wire ready. So the way to hold the wire for wiring it off, I always start at the center with my fists around the wire, head to the edges, point your thumbs or your index fingers into the middle. Go right in front of your pot, and with the wheel traveling maybe at the slowest speed possible, bring it through toward yourself, wire it nice and clean. And for Higher Fire, you're going to put your name cookie right next to the pot, and then it goes up on the shelf. That is making a basic cylinder. Hope that's a good review for you.